Hey everyone, happy Wednesday. I cannot wait, oh my gosh. I cannot believe that it is Wednesday already. This week is like really flying by. Okay, so today is sleep. We're going to talk about sleep. We're going to talk about what the importance of sleep is, and then how sleep deprivation or not getting enough sleep, how that actually affects you and your health. Okay, I thought it was very fitting because we had daylight savings time this weekend, and for some reason this time around it's really affected me very much more so than it has in the past, and I think it might have something to do with the fact that there's a lot of newness that's happening in my life. Right, like I've taken on this new job, right? Like I took it on, like I'm now, like I'm a pretty new health coach. I'm starting all these new things. Like I'm trying to get these 2 workshops out for y'all. They're 3-week workshops, so I'll talk about them. Once I get closer. I recently partnered with another health coach here in Portland, and we're going out in the community and doing things, and I partnered with a cooking company, and so now I'm doing stuff like this. So it's just like there's a lot of like really exciting and like really awesome stuff that I'm like stoked about. But it does take a lot of my energy and a lot of my thought process. And so I have noticed this week that my sleep, my quality of sleep and how much I'm sleeping is definitely being affected. And so I thought it was really appropriate to have, to talk about sleep. And I also thought it was appropriate because I feel like most health professionals, they tell you to get sleep, right? We talk about sleep a little bit. We know that it is important, but we don't actually know, like why it's important. We don't actually like get down to the root cause of it. And that part of me being a holistic health coach, like sleep is definitely one area that we do look at because of how vital and detrimental it could possibly be to your health. Okay, so that's why we're going to talk about it today. I have my own personal side for it, and then B, it's just because it's super important for your health. And we're all here to get into better health, right? Hopefully. Okay, so the importance of quality sleep. So some really critical activities actually happen during this sleep state. One of them being all of your internal organs. This is when they rest and recover from, really being in a state of active, being active all day, right? Keeping you awake, keeping you functioning, digesting things, functioning, just doing their daily routines. It's very energy consuming. And so this is kind of their time to kind of just slow down and just be able to kind of rest. They don't stop. You don't really have processes that like stop, right? Because if you stopped doing, functioning, you would die, that you would be dead. So it's not a necessary thing of like them ceasing. It's just an instance of them being able to kind of relax a little bit. So during this process, what that actually means, like this rest and recovery, is like tissue repair. So there's tissue repair, muscle growth. So if you're in this stage of you're trying to build some muscle, through working out, that sleep is absolutely vital. If you do not get enough sleep, no matter how much you're working out, you're not gonna get as muscle growth as you would if you were to get better sleep. And then this is also, and I think within that muscle growth, it would make sense as to protein synthesis. So protein synthesis, or like the breakdown of protein, occurs primarily when we're sleeping. And as we know, protein, or maybe you don't know, and I don't want to make any assumptions, but protein is really a huge building block for your life. Like protein is really important. And I feel like maybe I should have a video talking about protein in some way, because I think that there are lots of myths around protein and lots of stigmas around protein. And so I think it's important to kind of battle them. So anyways, here I am going off on tangents again. Okay, so internal organs get a chance to rest and relax when you have good quality sleep. Another important thing that happens during sleep is hormones. You have a really good set of hormones that are really active, or they're being released during this state of sleep, such as the hormones that are regulating your appetite, hormones for stress, hormones for growth, right, like cell growth, the good cell growth, metabolism, right, and all of these other bodily functions. That's when they're being released. It's because it's during this time where they're really able to kind of assemble themselves and really be able to just be efficient, right? Because your body is in this state of rest and relaxation. And then another huge importance is memory. Your memory you have like memory. You have memory things, right? So you're able to actually form and store new memories. And this is really important when we're talking about like learning new information, right? So you start working with me, you're going to need to form and store new memories and new ideas and new information in order to start making these changes that you need to make, right? So it's really, really, really important to work on your sleep. Not to like kind of skip your sleep or, try to sleep all night, because sleep is just super important. Okay, so some more direct. So those are very general overviews of like the importance. Let's just talk a little bit more like, okay, like what about it, or like what specifically can you do what specifically, oh my gosh, see, I need sleep. What specifically is happening in your body during this sleep cycle? So we know that internal organs are resting and relaxing, hormones are being released, and you're creating and storing new memories, right? And your cognitive function is working. Others very specific things that can happen is you can have increase in energy, right? And when you have this increase in energy, you're able to make more beneficial lifestyle choices, right? So you're able to be like, okay, like I have energy to cook, right? Cook at home instead of going out to eat all the time. I have energy to go and exercise, whatever that means for you. I have time to do some self-care for myself. I have time to sit and, and be able to like play and not feel drained and, and like spend time with my kids. Because I know spending time with especially younger children can be really draining, right? Like they take a lot of energy because they have a lot of energy. And so if you don't have good energy input, then you're not able to spend good quality time too with your kids. So you can get an increase in energy. You have a strengthened immune system. So your immune system is one of those functions that is also really, really shining. That like when you're sleeping, that's usually when your immune system is doing its best, right? It has the opportunity because you're in a state of rest and relax, that it now has the opportunity to kind of like go around in your body and really, really search for things that, it needs to get rid of. That's also why, like when you're sick, they tell you to get a lot of rest, right? It's because your immune system needs that. Your immune system needs you to not be out and about and exposing yourself to more possible pathogens, right? More sickness and illnesses. When you have a better sleep, you have a heightened alertness, you have heightened focus, you have more creativity. Right? So you just feel more of like a energized, you feel more of like a person, right? Like you're not a zombie. And I know this and I get this because I used to feel like a zombie too. You have improved mood, right? Because of the hormones. So this is tying to the hormones. By reducing anxiety, irritability, and mental exhaustion. And then you're also being able to release some of those really important hormones during nighttime. Especially the stress, right? Your stress hormones. And then another like kind of side one is you get an increased libido, so your sex drive. And so sex drive is one of those symptoms that we can get for having our digestive system being out of balance, right? And that's related to our hormones. And so since it's related to our hormones, our sleep can also cause us to have low sex drive as well, because we're not producing enough of that hormone. So on top of the fact that you already are having an imbalance in your digestive system, and now you're not sleeping very good, right? Like those two combinations is really just not healthy. And then on top of it, You're stressed, right? We talked about that, stress last week, right? So that's really the importance. Like, that's why it's super important to get good quality sleep. So when I'm saying quality sleep, what I'm really saying is that, and this really ties into like what it means to be sleep deprived. So quality sleep doesn't just mean that you're closing your eyes and you're kind of going in through this unconscious moment. Sleep is an actual process, right? Like, they've done studies on this, in that, you go through REM, and then you get out of REM, and then you go into like this state of dream, and then the dream, and then you go through this process. So your body needs to go through this process in order for it to be qualified as a good quality sleep. Okay, so a lot of times, a lot of us close our eyes and we don't really get good sleep. Our body isn't actually, calmed down. It's not relaxed. We're not we're not actually going through the motions. All of those benefits aren't happening, right? Our hormones aren't being released. Our immune system isn't doing its proper functioning. Our internal organs aren't working, right? They're not rest and relaxed. So that's what I mean when I say quality sleep. So I'm saying that you're actually going through this cycle of the sleep, like your sleep cycle, okay? So then sleep deprivation. So most of us are sleep deprived, right? We definitely live in a society where most of us are sleep deprived. And what happens when you're sleep deprived? Well, one thing that can happen is weight gain. So if you don't get an adequate amount of sleep, you can likely to gain more weight over time. So one of the reasons why is because of your appetite. So remember, one of the hormones that is being released during sleep is appetite control. So if you wake up and you haven't had a good restful sleep, you're waking up and you're feeling hungry, right? You're not feeling satiated. You're not eating the right things because you're craving those really, fatty and sugary and really processed kind of foods. So then that in turn is also what's contributing to your weight gain. And then on top of it, there has been studies showing that some of the hormones that are just being released in general that contribute to weight gain, and the way that your body is metabolizing the food and metabolizing fat, especially when you're sleeping, is usually slowed down, or it's not happening properly, and so then the weight gain actually starts to occur. So weight gain is one reason, or one outcome that can happen if you're sleep deprived. You have an increased risk of chronic disease, right? So your body becomes more susceptible to stress. And we talked about stress last week, and stress is huge. And so your immune system is not functioning properly. You have inflammatory proteins that are just kind of flooding. Your blood sugar is all over the place. Because your insulin isn't being as productive, because insulin is one of those hormones that actually does get more regulated, or actually starts to be released the most at night. So your insulin isn't being productive, or isn't being as productive. And then plus, when you have like so if you're one of those sleepers and like you sleep for a little bit, you wake up, you sleep, you wake up, you sleep, you wake up, that's actually been associated with hypertension, so high blood pressure, obesity, diabetes, and cardiovascular disease. Okay, so it's pretty serious. You have an increased risk of accidents and injuries, right? Like, you're feeling like a zombie, you're exhausted, both physically and mentally. Errors are going to occur. This tired, sleepy state of mind that you're in by not getting a good night's rest, can cause you to maybe be stubbing your toe, right? And we all know stubbing your toe hurts. Like, it hurts. Cutting yourself in the kitchen, right? Because you're not being careful. Maybe you're falling more often because your body is just physically too tired. It doesn't have enough energy. Getting into car accidents, or just accidents in general, right? That could happen. Like, being behind the wheel and being really tired and sleep deprived is super dangerous. So please try like your absolute best to not do it. So yeah, you have an increased risk of accidents and injuries, from your mental and physical fatigueness. And then you have a decline in your cognitive function, so that's kind of related to that. So there is definitely a change in your brain activity that occur after a period of sleep deprivation, right? So, I mean, you know this, like if you haven't like slept in like a couple, like more than, you know, even 24 hours, right? That's why 24-hour shifts when not sleeping is really, really hard on your body. Is that your brain activity actually starts to change because it has not had the chance to really just be able to rest and relax. And so when you don't get this amount of sleep, your mental performance starts to become damaged. Your impaired ability to process that new information, right? So to store and process that new information is not going to happen the greatest. So that's why when you're in college and they say, oh, you have those nights, right? Like you're going to those sleepless nights, like that's not healthy. And it's not actually being productive by any means. You aren't actually retaining any of the information that you're actually reading and writing and studying when you're being sleep deprived. If anything, you could be doing more damage than anything, right? Because you're not cognitively there. So if you're cramming, you know, during any part in your life, I'm just going to use college as an example, or school, or any time where you're learning something new, or you have a test, maybe it's a test for work, maybe, you know, you need a test to take a licensure or something. Cramming and doing sleepless nights is not doing yourself any justice at all. Your ability to retain and recall that information when the test is actually, you know, there in front of you, it's going to be very difficult. And then that's also going to increase your stress, which then that's going to impair your ability to actually start to like process that information, right? Because you're just going to be like anxious. You're going to be like, oh my gosh, right? So don't do it. Like it's bad. And it also can impact your overall mood, your focus, and your cognitive functioning. So sleep loss has been shown to impair decision-making skills, which then could lead to you having, you know, making poor choices in life. So if you're making poor choices in life, you might be able to blame it on your sleep deprivation. But it's not an excuse. Like you have to then do something about it, right? And then the last one here is increased anxiety. So when you have sleep deprivation, your ability to actually manage and keep track of your emotions is really difficult. So you usually get an increased risk of like this irritability, anxiousness, sadness, anger. You know, sometimes, you know, when people are really sleep deprived, you know, they kind of do these random bouts of like weird laughing and maybe some crying. Like, I'm sure you know what I'm talking about, that, you know, it's late at night, you're at like a friend's house and you're super tired, you just want to go to bed, and you're just like laughing at weird things, and you're like, oh my gosh, like that's usually when people are like, I need to go home, right? Like I need to go. So I'm just going to quickly go over them again. So sleep deprivation, how it affects you. It affects you for weight gain. It affects you get an increased risk of developing chronic diseases such as high blood pressure, obesity, diabetes, cardiovascular disease. You have an increased risk of hurting yourself, so accidents and injuries. You get a decline in cognitive functioning, so that means you're not thinking clearly, you're not processing information, you're not recalling information very well. And then you have an increase in anxiety. Okay? So then how much sleep do you really need? So it really varies, and it varies depending upon your age, and it varies depending upon the individual. So how active of a lifestyle do you have? You know, like what are you eating, right? Like what is going on in your life that's going to cause you to either you might need a little less sleep or a little bit more sleep. But on average, if you're 18 or older, they're usually saying anywhere between 7 and 9 hours. Okay? And that's the quality sleep. So that's meaning you have to go through the sleep cycle. Okay? Go through the sleep cycle. Okay, so that is really what I wanted to touch on today. Tomorrow I'm going to talk about steps towards actually getting a better sleep. So then we just talked about like why it's important and then what it can do to your body when you're sleep deprived. So then I think obviously it's necessary to talk about then like what are some things that you can do to not be sleep deprived, right? So you can start, restoring and relaxing your internal organs. Your hormones are starting to, do things right. Your immune system is functioning properly. We're decreasing that risk of, chronic diseases and anxiety and accidents and all of that, okay? So that'll be tomorrow. I'm not sure if I'm going to do a video or if there's going to be more of a written post on in the Facebook group. So I will see. So for those of you who want the video, I would strongly recommend to type you want the video in the comments, okay? Yeah, all right. So that is today's topic. If you have any questions, any concerns, anything that you want to add to it, please just feel free to comment, right? Comment back, message me privately. If you're unsure and you're kind of if you're just not sure about something, please ask. It's much better to just ask and and then get the answer than to sit there and just question and, to feel anxious and then, to be oh my gosh, and you're starting to feel overwhelmed and right. So just ask. I'm here to I'm here. I want to help you. So let me help you. Okay. And the best way for me to help you is to actually, hop on that free consultation. Okay. All right. I will see you either tomorrow or next week. Bye.